Have you ever struggled with envy? You're really not happy with the success of your colleagues, competitors, or friends. You wonder why that same success hasn't come your way. Taming the Beast of Envy is the topic on this edition of Excellent Living with Cheryl Martin. She and our resident relationship and leadership coach, Dr. Johnny Parker, will tackle an issue that few talk about but many experience: envy. It robs us of joy and drains our energy. Here's Cheryl to get the dialogue started.
Is there a lot of envy going on these days, Johnny?
Wow, is there ever? Is there ever? Especially with the advent of social media and technology, when you can see people's lives all over the world, globally. And I think I was telling you one day, Cheryl, I saw a t-shirt one day, someone came in my office, and the t-shirt said, "I hope your life is as wonderful as it appears on Facebook." So we get, people we're always putting things on social media. It's always our best stuff, right? It's our best life. It's our best story. It's always our best stuff. So no one puts their garbage and their dirt.
Great vacation.
Exactly. Great vacation. Look at my child. Look at my marriage. Look at my car. Look at my stuff. And so
my new job.
Right. Exactly. And so it's easy, especially again because there's so much. There's a lot of pain, a lot of brokenness, and in reality TV. It's like, hey, if at least someone's life seems to have it going on. So we live vicariously, oftentimes, I think, Cheryl, through other people's stories, because our story is so filled with and fraught with pain and disappointment of what I thought my life would be. And so we live vicariously through someone's social media life, someone's reality TV story. So envy is huge, and always has been, but it just keeps, it's on steroids now.
And the reality is, you can go to someone's website or Facebook page. It doesn't mean their life is like that at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, it appears, though. It appears, and it's like, I want some of that. Where'd you get? I want a slice of that life. Right? So it looks very, very good. So let's face it. We look a lot better on social media than reality, and we all do. So we can dress it up and make ourselves appear, which is a disconnect, because the truth is, I get home like, wow, I wish I really was what social media appears to make me.
I remember reading a column in the newspaper, and this woman said, "I really need help with Facebook envy, and I'm envious of my cousin's life. She has a child. I haven't been able to have a child. She's thin. I'm struggling with my weight. She's got a great house. We're in this cramped apartment." And she says, I've tried to unfriend her, but there are other people in my circle.
Keeps coming back.
Right. So I still find out what's going on in her life.
Right.
I need help.
Yeah.
And this was a relative.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. It just keeps coming back. Yeah. So, it's, when your life is not what you want it to be, it's so easy to become, enamored, envious, jealous of what someone else's life appears. And that's the key word, appears to be.
You know what, Johnny? I remember there was a friend of mine who appeared to have, quote, the perfect life. Yeah. Great husband. She had told me at one time he met everything on her list. Wow. He was a 10. And I remembered that. And that her life just appeared to be, they seemed to have just a perfect marriage. Well, when she called me and told me that they were getting a divorce,
wow,
I got mad. Not mad because they were, of course I was disappointed, but I had spent all those years thinking about how her life appeared to be perfect. And it was crumbling. And I made a vow from that point on never to assume someone's life was going so well. I got angry at how Satan had used this mirage of their life. And I'm comparing that mine is less than, and she was having her own struggles. It didn't survive. And when I said to her, "But you had told me that he was a 10. She didn't even remember telling me that.
I said that? Really? Yeah.
She said,
wow.
I said that? I said,
Yeah.
yes. You told me that he fit everything on your list. She didn't remember.
that.
And I had held on to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I learned a critical lesson.
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
Deal with the life God has given me.
That's a great statement. Deal with the life God has given me. I've been there too, Cheryl. I have, at times when I've been disappointed where I am in my story and my progress or where I think I should be in life or ministry, whatever, and I see someone else out there who has a similar skill set, similar gifts, and that's always true. It's always, we envy those who are similar to us, most similar to us, similar gifts, similar ambitions, similar dreams, and so you see someone who's similar to you and they're having opportunities and you're thinking, how'd they get that? Boy, if they could just hear me and what I have to say, if I could only get, and I can remember one time I go into a place and there's a friend of mine who's speaking at this event and I didn't know he was going to be speaking at this event. And I'm sitting in the audience and said, how did he get that? And I'm telling you, and I'm sitting there, I'm resentful, I'm got the smile on, right? Like acting as if I'm happy for him, but inwardly, I'm
Thinking I could do a better job.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If they only knew, how did they miss my website?
How did he get that?
How did he get that? And I had to deal with that, and the Spirit of God had to deal with me because I ended up going backstage at the event, and God began to really deal with me and said,
were you trying to work it, or what were you doing backstage?
Yeah. No, I mean, I saw him and so I didn't expect to run into him, but I had to do the work of heart, and deal with what was really going on in my heart and my motives. And the Spirit of God said, you go there and you affirm him. Even though you don't feel it, you affirm him.
So you affirmed him, but it wasn't sincere.
Yeah, I affirmed him. Yeah, I did it in faith. not with feeling, but I did it in faith. But that's just so real, and so yeah, it's such a natural deal. Envy can kill you.
Can eat at you.
It can really eat at you.
And that's why you call it a beast.
It's a beast.
And
It's a
how do
beast.
you define it?
How do I define envy? I believe it's wanting what someone has and resenting them for having it. I think that's what it comes. Wanting what they have and resenting them for having it because you think what they have, it should be yours. And we could envy anything. I mean, we can envy. I wish that was my spouse. I wish that was my child. I wish my kid. We envy the bumper sticker.
And I think it can show up in almost every area of life. Let's say if you and I were singers.
Yeah.
And here is someone that in your mind is not an exceptional singer.
Right.
You have had a private coach. Let's say you graduated from Juilliard and they get a record contract.
Right.
And you have not gotten anything.
Right. How'd that happen? Right.
How did that happen?
Exactly. Yeah. So
They're
right.
not naturally gifted like you are.
You are. Yeah. Absolutely.
But don't you think we don't necessarily, when we examine ourselves, do we really call it envy? Like, did you say, I'm envious of him?
No, we never call it that. You're right. We don't tell the truth on ourselves that way. We wouldn't call it envy. But we have a way of getting with our groups and having conversations, and we start rating, each other, especially those who are like us or similar to us, and so we rate each other. But the reason why we don't call it and tell the truth, because it's hard work. It's hard to be honest with yourself. It's hard to come to grips. It's hard to be, as Michael Jackson said, the man in the mirror, the woman in the mirror, to really be honest about what's going on in your soul.
We don't want to admit.
Exactly.
It's difficult to admit that we are that base,
Exactly.
that we are that sinful,
Yeah.
and thinking those thoughts.
Absolutely. Well put. You went deeper than I went, Cheryl Martin, on that. That's so true. That's exactly. It's hard to admit that really lives in me. That beast is alive.
That I'm not happy for that person.
Exactly.
Or I'm wondering, what did he see in her?
Right. Absolutely. Again, when the scriptures have to tell us to rejoice with those who rejoice, because it's not natural to rejoice with those who rejoice. It's natural to envy than rejoice with you. I'm okay as long as you don't surpass me. But the truth is, maturity, can I celebrate you? Can I celebrate your success in a sincere way? That's maturity. And so we don't naturally rejoice with people who rejoice. And you said it so well. It's really base. It's really getting down to the core that's some nasty stuff that's going on inside of me. And so, yeah.
You call it a joy robber,
Right.
and an energy drainer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is a joy robber. It leaves you anxious when it's untamed, when you're not dealing with it. It leaves you anxious. It leaves you thinking, how can I get what they got? How can I advance my cause? There's no joy in that. That's just pure drivenness. Pure drivenness. I am driven. I'm anxious. I'm comparing myself. I'm in my so-called lane, but I keep looking to the right and left and see who's with me or see who's ahead of me. So that just takes, that's consuming. That just takes it robs us of joy. There's no peace in that. It takes energy and it just zaps us.
Now, do you see a difference between envy and jealousy?
I'm not sure I do. I'm not sure I do. I think with envy, as I said earlier, it's one thing what someone has and resenting them for having it.
I'm wondering if in jealousy you may not resent them having it.
That's what I'm thinking. I think you just wanting what they have.
Envy, it goes deeper.
I think it goes deeper. Yeah, they call it the green monster, the monster, the beast. I think it's that. I think envy goes deeper but it's interesting when you read 1 Corinthians 13. Some versions say love does not envy. Some says love is not jealous. Either way, it's not good, and so it's not love. It's not love. It's very consuming, extremely consuming.
What I find interesting about this is a person can be a Christ follower and still struggle in this area. Yet I don't hear a lot of messages on this.
Yeah, because that means that would assume that you're doing your own work. Right? That's what it would presume, that you're doing your own work. So that's probably why we don't hear a lot of messages on it. But it's interesting that it definitely makes the list of what love is not, according to Paul. Our culture is so externalized. Everything is what you appear. Everything is appearance and image. And so we really don't do this kind of work of the heart.
That was Dr. Johnny Parker, a leadership and relationship coach. You're listening to the weekly broadcast, Excellent Living with Cheryl Martin. Johnny and Cheryl are discussing taming the beast called envy. It's rampant and it's on the loose, but seldom captured because it's an issue of the heart. Let's get back to the conversation where Johnny will share tools for battling envy.
So, getting back to the internet, what do you recommend, let's say for those on Facebook? Should a person who wants to make sure that he or she is not doing anything to cause envy, should that person not post about their successes?
Sure, that's a great. So I think social media is just that. It's a way to socialize with people, and it's intended, I believe, to be off the cuff. Not intense, more casual communication. That's how I see it. I tend to use it, for me personally, I like to use it to educate and enrich and enhance lives and use it as a teaching medium. So I think it comes back to what's my motivation? Why am I sharing it? What am I really after? I mean, I had an experience, my wife and I get an experience to work with NFL teams. And we go up to a certain place on Monday nights and work with this team. I didn't put it on Facebook. I didn't put it on social media. I was tempted to. I said, oh my gosh, if people only knew where we are and who we're with, oh my gosh. And I talked about it with her, and I said, honey, I said, she wasn't pressuring me and said, we should put it out there. I just said, no, I'm not gonna put it out there. I'm not gonna put it out there. Now, I wish I could say I've always done it that way, but there have been times I wanted people to know.
But you didn't feel the need.
I didn't feel the need that night. But for some reason, a couple of months ago, I'm having dinner with Tony Dungy. I want everybody to know that. And I put it out there. And I said, why did I do that? You know.
And now it's on the radio.
And that was on, that's on the radio. Thank you. That's right. I didn't have to say his name right. Well, yeah, exactly. So,
But
hey,
you wanted people to know.
yeah, I want people to know. I want people to know. So it always comes back to what.
Well, is that
motivation.
bad? Are you
Is it
convicted?
Yeah, I think so. I think motives matter. To God, and what is my motive? And again, motivation is something that we just we're always gonna have to battle with motivation, right? It's never gonna be mature motivation always.
Are my motives pure?
Right, but it's gotta be, because we can do the right thing. But God looks at the motivation of the heart. Man looks on the outward appearance, and God looks at my heart. So I think for us to grow in maturity, it's got to be always motivation, love, motivated by love.
Do men and women equally struggle with this?
Oh, yeah, because the heart knows no gender. The heart is the heart. The heart is desperately wicked.
But will it manifest itself differently?
I'm not sure it does. I'm not sure it does. I think, I'm not sure it does. I think it goes. I don't think so at all. No.
Because I've often wondered if a woman tears another woman down and takes pleasure in it, I sometimes wonder if there's some envy, especially if the woman is beautiful or gifted or well, she wasn't that good. If underneath the criticism, if there is just a hint of jealousy or envy.
I don't think there's just a hint. I think it's stronger than a hint. But men do the same thing. We do that. We rate preachers. We rate speakers. That wasn't that great of a book. I was with a couple of guys recently, and they were knocking Purpose-Driven Life. Oh, it wasn't well written. It wasn't this. But somehow God used it to be one of the best-selling books of all times. What do you make of that?
Why was it even necessary to say that?
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Exactly. So what is that about? What's really going on in the heart?
It seems like the envy has a lot to do with entitlement, Johnny. And I'm wondering if we have to be really careful that, because thinking of those ministers who said that, let's say they went to the top theological seminaries and got all A's in their writing courses, and they've done everything to make sure they are excellent in this area. Because I've heard Rick Warren say he's never taken a writing course. That's what God told him. But I'm wondering if, again, we have to be very careful about, well, I'm entitled to that because I've done this.
Yeah, I deserve it, and that's supposed to be, and that's why it's so different with the kingdom. It's the kingdom of God. It's so counterintuitive to our nature. Our nature is what you just said. I've achieved. I've accomplished. I've taken the right. I've checked everything off the list. So I'm supposed to.
I've often thought that by his speech, it was clear that David's older brother Eliab
about that. Sure.
was jealous of him.
Absolutely.
Because I think he resented the fact that God chose him. How dare God choose you over me? He
Absolutely.
resented that because when he said, why aren't you with your, quote, few sheep? Why are you here anyway?
Not just sheep, few sheep.
Few sheep.
Yeah. Minor stuff. You got that minor stuff. This is big league stuff.
Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks.
Right. Absolutely.
I think he could never accept the fact or get over the fact that God chose him, his younger brother, over him.
Absolutely. In sports terms, Eliab would be considered a number 1 draft pick, and David would have never been drafted. I mean, obviously he wasn't drafted. Samuel had to say, "Isn't there another son missing?" And so, absolutely, there was definitely envy in that story with that situation, and God raises up who He's going to raise up, and that's the bottom line. He raises up who He's going to raise up, and what He wants from you and me is our surrender, and He writes the story.
So how do we tame this beast of envy?
Yeah.
What's the answer?
You know, I believe so much of when we're looking to grow and become mature, it always has to start with self-awareness. I mean, that's the scriptures. That's God with Adam. Adam, where are you? Can you tell the truth about your condition? That's Jesus in Matthew 7. First, be willing to look at the log in your own eye. So God is always after tell the truth about your condition. I desire truth in the innermost parts. So it starts there. I gotta acknowledge that it's there. The beast is alive and it's in me, and the beast called envy. And so I gotta acknowledge it. I have to be self-aware. I gotta go there with it. And so that's critical.
Wasn't God saying that to Cain?
There you go. Same thing. Absolutely.
If you don't deal with this,
Yeah. It's going to consume you. Envy becomes anger. Anger will kill with words or literally take someone's life. So envy, unaddressed, it leads to a very, very negative
so
destination.
be honest with yourself about where you are and how you feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take it to God.
Absolutely. I have spent countless time, energy out in the woods with God, acknowledging what's going on in me. Acknowledging and recognizing, especially as we are in the family of God, recognizing that we're on the same team. We're trying to, that you're not my enemy. You're my sister. We're on the same family. We're on the same team. Our job is to exalt the kingdom of God and penetrate the kingdom of darkness. So I got an email the other day from a friend saying, thank God we're now doing ministry in a Spanish-speaking church, and they're African-American. And they're in Hilton Head, South Carolina. Immediately I'm thinking, wow, how did they get that? And they're in Hilton Head, and I'm driving, and so I just prayed for them. I went against the grain of my heart. That's the thing. We got to go upstream. We got to go against the grain, because the grain is the natural inclination is to question, why them? Why not me? How did they get that? How can I get the hookup? And so we gotta go against we have to go counterintuitive by praying. God used them. God blessed them. And so I think that's very, very important.
The self-awareness.
Absolutely.
What's the next step?
I think we have to live your calling. Live your calling. So what does that mean? I think of when Jesus speaks to Peter. Peter is wondering, after Jesus has resurrected, he comes and he's talking to him, and he's talking to John, and Jesus is saying what to expect. What's going to be the outcome for your purpose in life, Peter? This is what's going to be with you. John, he's going through outcomes for the different disciples. And Peter, being the outspoken one, says, well, what about him? Pointing to John. And Jesus says something that's very interesting. He says two things. What is that to you? He asks him a question. Then he says this: you follow me. You follow me. I really believe, live in your calling, my eyes on the Lord, that God already has a story mapped out of Johnny Parker, Sherrill Martin, and the impact and how we're supposed to live our life. And he says, you keep your eyes on me. You follow me. And so when I find myself restless, looking to the left and the right and seeing what others are doing, I know then that my eyes are on Johnny. Mm-hmm. I know my eyes are on me, and I start comparing and measuring. No, God has called me, and God already has it laid out in terms of the ministry and the impact and the fruit, and I have to trust that, as opposed to feeling like God is slow and where is God, and comparing myself, living my calling, the calling that he has on my life. And then I believe that it's important that we deliberately affirm others. We deliberately affirm others. It goes back to what Paul says, rejoice with those who rejoice. That I affirm you as my sister, as my brother in the kingdom of God and the work that you're doing, that I come alongside, I send you that email, I send you that text, and I affirm you, and let you know I'm praying for you. Again, going against the grain of our heart. Affirm you, not compete with you.
I just thought of something that you've said before about humility. It's not thinking of thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less.
Yes.
I'm wondering if that would apply here.
Oh, always.
To keep from going inward
Right.
when it's time to affirm someone else and
Right.
what God has done in his or her life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He's the author of the story. He knows exactly what he's doing, and how do I rest, how do I trust his call, his purpose, his perfect will for my life, and rest in that. The more that we make Christ the ambition and deeply rest and love him, he becomes the satisfier of our soul. We make it our goal to make others better. We make it our goal to make others better, and that just connects with our calling, because every calling, that's what this is, a God-given calling.
Even if they end up being better than us.
Exactly. Even if they surpass us. So that's the goal. It's always to esteem others and refresh others. And somehow in doing that, as the proverb says, Proverbs 11:25, a generous person refreshes others, and they themselves are refreshed. There's something about that. As I refresh you, there's something about that. When it's done well and sincerely, I'm refreshed in the process.
Taming the Beast of Envy. A bold topic and enriching discussion. Thanks, Johnny and Cheryl, for not only highlighting the problems of jealousy and envy in our culture, but also for providing tips for winning the battle against them. You can order the CD called Taming Envy when you visit our website, excellentliving.org. That's excellentliving.org. Want to learn more about Dr. Johnny Parker? Just visit his website, johnnyparker.com. That's johnnyparker.com. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Doris McMillan. And remember, excellent living is doing life God's way because it's the best way. So enjoy the journey.